live for you on LouTube today. It's Uncle Lou. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the Uncle Lou Show live on LouTube. We do this show every Monday and Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern. We have a different live show every Tuesday and Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, pointless videos posted at irrelevant, meaningless times throughout the week. Thanks for watching. It's ACC week on LouTube. We're going to try to talk some about that today. But, of course, when you call in, if you're able to get through, then the floor is yours. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I just ask that you try to, most of you, if you can, let's try to at least start off with some ACC talk, and then you know we can move on from there. Thanks to everybody who's joined. We're going to get started here in just a second, and talk some football today.
I bust my ass, Lou. That's what I do every day. So you be careful who you mouth off to, jerk off.
Trying to get them in the crowd ready to just win.
Huh?
Yep, good morning. Welcome back. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live on LouTube for you. ACC week, all week on LouTube today. Thanks for watching the call-in show today. 706-510-6817. If you want to be on the show, we're going to talk or try to talk ACC, but like I said, if you get through, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. For ACC week, you guys let me know if there's videos you want me to do this week about the ACC. Remember, these aren't going to be prediction videos. I do a whole series of those the last half of July and the first half of August. These are storyline videos about things pertaining to certain conferences. We did the Big 12 last week. We're doing the ACC this week. We'll do the other three conferences over the next 3 weeks. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please state your name and your approximate weight.
Alex, and I don't know my weight.
What'd you say your name was? I think you said it wrong.
Alex!
I don't... Are you having a good morning?
Yep.
706-510-6817. If you want to be on the show, now would be a good time to do it. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. Yeah, I need your name and how much you weigh.
Alex, and I don't know my weight.
Boop-a-doop-a-doo, doop-a-doop-a-doo. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. When people can't follow simple instructions, it's really something serious. Shout out to the folks at Lanier HVAC Services for sponsoring the Uncle Lou Show live. If you are in the Atlanta or Athens area or anywhere in between and need some residential HVAC work done, please call the good people over at Lanier HVAC Services. They're kind enough to support Uncle Lou. Let's return the favor. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hi, man, what's up?
Hey, what's going on? Name and weight.
What? What was the last part?
Name and weight in pounds. You there? You're breaking up on it. We can't hear you. Name. You there? All right. Not sure what was going on there. We're off to a great start here today here on the Uncle Lou Show. 706-510-6817 if you want to be on the show. Let's see, what else? Yeah, ACC week. So if there's videos you want to see me do this week on certain topics in the ACC, be sure and let me know somewhere, whether it's in the comments section here. You can email me, crazyunclelou@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter @crazyunclelou. The Uncle Lou Show has a Facebook page. You can easily find that. Anyway, there's plenty of ways to get in touch with me and let me know. But if there's a certain topic, a certain storyline, something like that you want to see Uncle Lou talk about as pertains to the ACC, make sure you let me know in the next couple of days. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Uncle Lou, what's going on? This is UT Trucker.
UT Trucker?
No, DQT Trucker.
DQT Alpha. Okay, we got you. What's going on, buddy?
Ain't much, man. How's it been going, man? I'm the one that shares the dislike and the hate for South Carolina, buddy.
Oh yeah. I know who you are. You've called in several times before. Yeah. Well, you called in one time. You was actually in South Carolina, so.
Yeah, and they had to replace the tires the next week.
I told you about them potholes, man. They don't fix. They got. You're lucky to find a paved road over there.
Hey, now I know you. I was watching in the beginning, and you were asking about the ACC. What do you want? What are you looking for as far as? Well, I know you want me to call if you're ready, but you looking for like what you want to know, some expansion or what I think about it?
Anything about the ACC, like like today I did a video on Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant, who's going to get the start. But whatever you want to talk about is fine. It doesn't matter. We talk about who's going to win the ACC, who's not going to win it. We can rag on Georgia Tech. We can talk about Mark Richt winning 10 games from now till the cows come home. Whatever. The floor is yours, sir.
We're well aware of winning 10 good holy games. We're well aware of that now, Lou. You know that. Winning 10 good holy games, and then if we don't win, gosh darn it, it's no problem.
Yeah, I hear you.
If we don't win in that, and we had to get rid of that. I love him, but we had to get rid of that. I had something to tell you, though.
What's that?
Here's what I do believe. I remember last week you were saying something about Texas. I missed it. I've been in the midst of moving. Me and my wife finally moved, got us a house. But you know what I'm thinking? Mark my words, Lou. Sooner or later, I believe the final four for the playoffs is going to be Texas, Georgia, Ohio State or Michigan, and either Miami or Clemson. I think I see that in the future, in the next probably 3, 4, 5 years.
I'm with you now. I mean, I've been high on Texas for a couple of years, now, and
me too.
the old, what's that old saying? You can strike while the iron's hot or whatever. I don't expect Oklahoma to fall off the map or anything like that, but now would be a good time for somebody in the Big 12 to overtake Oklahoma. They've lost Baker Mayfield. Lincoln Riley is slowly losing the Bob Stoops type players. Now he's been recruiting at a high level still, but if you're gonna pass Oklahoma, if you're Texas and you're looking to take a step ahead of Oklahoma, I think now's a good time to try to do it.
Yeah. I've been real high on Texas because you were right. Something you said last week. How can you be a historic program like that and not? Texas used to be, I mean, everything's bigger in Texas, and Texas used to be centerpiece. Now, there's always been a battle, just like us and Auburn and us and Alabama. But it's always been a battle between Texas and Oklahoma, and who's the head honcho. But Texas has been that marquee school, just like a Alabama, just like a Georgia, just like a Miami down in Florida. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they got to rise back up to prominence, man.
Yeah, and the thing about Texas is it's not necessarily the fact that they've been losing to Oklahoma. Now, obviously, that's a huge deal for Texas fans because that's the game for them every year. That's their biggest rivalry game. But Texas used to have, Texas has a bunch of great years in its history where they lost to Oklahoma, but only lost, maybe that was the only game they lost, or they only lost 2 or 3 games. They're losing to Oklahoma and Maryland. And you know what I mean? Like, they lost, and I said this last week, there's no scenario on planet Earth. I don't care about coaching changes. I don't care about losing juniors to the NFL. There's nothing that could possibly happen at Texas that makes it okay for them to lose to Maryland, ever. That's inexcusable.
Exactly. Hey, now, to bring it back to the hello? You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, boss, to bring it back to the ACC, with them being on the Atlantic coast, if the Big 12 was to break up, who's on that coast besides? I mean, who's in that area in the Big 12 that could possibly go to the ACC? You see what I'm saying?
West Virginia would be the only. West Virginia is way out of place being in the Big 12. They're the closest thing. I mean, the ACC, you've got Virginia and Virginia Tech in the ACC, and obviously West Virginia is right there, just west of Virginia.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
right.
That would make sense for the ACC if they were looking to gobble up a Big 12 team. Would be maybe West Virginia. So we'll see. I think the Pac-12 would probably take a team or two from the Big 12. I think the SEC would be looking to probably take a team or two, maybe the Big 10.
Okay. What I think should happen, I know you talked about that Pac Oklahoma and Oklahoma State guy, but what I think should happen, Texas, because I feel I've always liked Texas, and I feel that they once had that gritty, grimy Southern thing that we got going on in the SEC. I would say let Texas come to the SEC and let Oklahoma go and shake up USC and all them out there in the Pac-12. You know what I mean?
It would be, if and when the Big 12 goes away, it's going to be one of the most interesting 6 months or so of college football in a long, long time, because as much trash as we talk as SEC fans about Texas or Oklahoma, those are 2 blue blood, elite, top of the top college football programs over the last 100 years. I mean, there's a handful of teams who have managed to stay pretty relevant for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. Alabama, Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State, Southern Cal. I don't, they're maybe a tier below that. But Texas and Oklahoma are 2 teams that if the Big 12 were to ever go away, it would be like the gold rush back in the 1840s when everybody, headed out west and, wanted to be the first one there to grab their gold or whatever. I mean, conferences will be fighting over Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah. Now, one other thing, I know you got other callers on. I need to get with you on getting an Uncle Lou shirt, man. And I probably need it in like a 2X, maybe a 3X if they run small.
Yeah,
I know you asked about the weight earlier.
Well, if
about
you
6'1", 260.
Yeah, I mean, I have them, I think, all the way up to 4X. But if you look in the description of the of every Uncle Lou video I've ever posted on YouTube, if you click the description box, there's a whole bunch of crap in there, basically. But one of the pieces of crap that's in there, it says want a T-shirt, and there's a link, and you can click on that link, and it takes you to the site to get you a T-shirt. I think they're about, I think the short sleeve ones are $19.
Yeah, that's what I want. That goes to you, right?
Well, some of it, yeah. I mean, I have to pay for the shirt and all that, but I make some money off of that, yeah. So, but yeah, just look in the description. It's in the description even of this video. There's a link down there. It says want a shirt, and it's a link, and it's spreadshirt.com. So it's not some nickel and dime operation. I mean, if you pay with your credit card, it's a secure site. I don't get any of that information. That's why I do it this way. At first, I used to get them made here in town, and I would just have like 20 or 30 of them sitting around. But I didn't want people giving me their credit card information and stuff like that. So that's why I've gone this other way with it. So I don't get any of the information. I don't get your. All I get is an email from Spreadshirt that says someone bought this item. It doesn't tell me the name. It doesn't tell me your address. I don't get your credit card information. None of that. So it's totally secure. It's just like buying something off of Amazon. I would never know. But yeah, just click that link.
I won't worry about that. I was just making sure.
Yeah.
I was just making sure you get some of that money. It's well deserved, buddy. Because when you think about Georgia, you think about UGA, and then you think about Uncle Lou.
Man, I appreciate that, and thanks for the call. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. I'm sure. Okay, 706-510-6817 if you want to be on the show. I've got a guest lined up for Wednesday. Of course, I've had a guest lined up for a bunch of Wednesdays. Hopefully this one comes through. I have a feeling that he will. This person has a YouTube channel. A lot of you may know him, Pigskin Pete, but he emailed me last week, and he wants to come on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So I told him, like I tell everybody else, message me Wednesday morning to confirm, and you'll be good to go. So you guys can look forward to that coming up on the Wednesday show. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. You there?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you say hello. What's up, man?
What's up? Name and weight.
You there?
Yeah, I'm there. Name and weight.
Oh, John Varder. What's up?
John Varder. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, man. How are you today?
Man, I'm doing great. I can't even complain.
Oh, that's good to hear. So this is ACC week?
That's right.
All right, I've never been really fond of the ACC because, I'm a Florida fan.
I know, yeah. Look, I hate Florida State too, not as much as you do, I'm sure, but I hate Georgia Tech, so we at least have our hate for the ACC. We may be bitter rivalries the end of October every year, but we definitely share a hate for the ACC.
Yeah. Hey, now, there are some teams that I think in the ACC this year that could surprise some people and some that could pretty disappoint. I think Clemson will be pretty disappointing this year, in my opinion.
Really? Wow. That's a bold prediction, because pretty much every analyst and college football prediction website, I haven't seen anybody pick anybody other than Clemson to win the ACC this year. So that's definitely a bold prediction there.
Yeah, I think the quarterback situation's a little rougher now. Clay Bryant's not the most established quarterback, and Trevor Lawrence is just a freshman. He can't do everything. He can do some. I've seen him play. He's in here 30 minutes away from me, in Cartersville. So I've seen him play. He's good, but he's going to be only a freshman. So
I agree. I've always been very hesitant about playing freshman quarterbacks. I'm starting to come around a little bit, just because not just Jake Fromm, but the way Tua played in the national championship game, and I don't know. I think all these camps and these Elite 11s and the Under Armour games, all these things that these kids are doing. I mean, some of these freshman quarterbacks have been going to these camps and things since they were in 7th grade. I just feel like they're a lot more prepared nowadays as a freshman than they were even 5 or 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, for example, Jake Fromm, he came out of the gates like firing on all cylinders. I mean, for a freshman, he did pretty good. Led him to a national title.
Yeah, and I think the mental aspect of it, like I think a quarterback who, well, first of all, you want your quarterback to be pretty smart anyway, but I think a quarterback that is like really, really smart has a better chance of excelling as a true freshman. For example, let's say, and I'm totally making this up. This isn't real. I'm just making this up. But like, let's say Trevor Lawrence on a scale of 1 to 10 is an 8 on the smart meter, right? But he's only a 6 on the talent meter. Well, and then let's say Justin Fields was the opposite. Let's say Justin Fields had less talent but more smarts. I think Justin Fields could actually have more success as a freshman. In other words, I think if you're really, really smart, it helps you a lot as a true freshman with learning the playbook, learning the schemes, learning the coverages, the audibles, all that kind of stuff. Now, eventually, talent is going to take over because you're going to learn it eventually. But as a freshman, I think the smarter you are, the easier it is to catch on right away. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I'm saying Clemson goes 8-4, but next season they're probably gonna destroy everybody they're gonna play, like in 2019 season.
8-4, I just don't. I feel like Clemson could probably average 14 points a game and go 10-2 with the defense that they have. I just don't know. Even if the quarterback situation goes off the rails, I don't know. To me, they just seem way too loaded defensively to win, to lose 4 games. I mean, I don't know. Anything can happen, but we'll see.
I kind of forgot that they still have almost all their defensive linemen from last season until now.
Defensive linemen, you said?
Yeah, like they have still like almost all of them from last season, like the starters.
Yeah, I don't understand. They had 2 or 3 defensive starters that could have been first, second, and third round NFL picks, and somehow got them to all come back. Their front 7 could start for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I changed my position to 10-2. Actually, never mind. Crap.
Now it is possible. Here's where I'll agree with you. If they don't do something about the quarterback situation, they're only going so far, regardless of how good their defense is, or how good their receivers are, or how good a running game they have, whatever. They're not winning a playoff game with Kelly Bryant. I don't see it happening. I think Clemson's best bet at a national title, and let's be real, that's Clemson's goal. Clemson's goal isn't to win the ACC. Clemson's goal isn't even to win a playoff game. Clemson's goal is to win the national title, and I think they have every right to have that as a goal. They've been probably the second most consistent team in college football over the last 3 or 4 years behind Alabama. They've got a national title. They've been in the playoffs 3 years in a row. They've won the ACC 3 years in a row. Not very many teams have that resume, so I think it's perfectly within reason that that's their expectation, is to win a national title. I don't think they're doing it with Kelly Bryant. I think the best bet for Clemson is that Trevor Lawrence figures it out sooner rather than later, and they're able to put him in there and ride with him. Now, they may not win it with Kelly Bryant. I mean with Trevor Lawrence. I'm not saying they'll win a national title with Trevor Lawrence. I'm saying there's no way they'll win one with Kelly Bryant. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Now, I have another team that I think will do surprisingly better than Clemson this season. Virginia Tech. I think Justin Fuente, it's his 3rd season. He's already gotten players used to the system, and I think this season he's just gonna do really well with that squad of his now.
Yeah, Fuentes
since he's recruited much better than Beamer did.
Fuentes is another coach that I've been high on since before he got to Virginia Tech. Him and Tom Herman were sort of the really hot names at the exact same time in college football. They were both at lower tier schools. They were both dominating. Fuentes was at Memphis, I believe, and, of course, Tom Herman at Houston. And they were lighting it up, particularly on offense. I mean, of course, Houston beat Florida State in the bowl game that year, had a couple of really good years. And so Herman and Fuentes were like the two hot names in college football there for a couple of years, along, of course, with Kirby Smart. Georgia got Kirby Smart. Fuentes then went to Georgia Tech, and Tom Herman ended up at Texas. But, I'm huge fans of all three of those coaches, and it would not surprise me at all to see Georgia do really, really well for 10 years under Kirby Smart, Texas do really, really well for 10 years under Tom Herman, and Virginia Tech to do really, really well for 10 years under Fuentes. None of that would surprise me. I'm really high on all three of those, so I'm with you there on the Virginia Tech thing.
Yeah, that. And not Georgia Tech, man. Not them. Virginia might do pretty good this year because Bronco Mendenhall from BYU, he was pretty good there. Now they made a bowl game last year, didn't they, Virginia?
I'm not sure. I know they were one of the worst teams in college football a few years ago. They're not going to be that bad under Bronco Mendenhall, but they're I'm not sold on Virginia.
Kind of me too, but actually, the recruiting-wise, I think they got a couple 4-stars recently, so he's definitely picking up. He's definitely finding some good players near Virginia and stuff. I remember they're all kind of local from the guys he recruited.
And you mentioned it. I mean, he did kind of resurrect BYU. I mean, it's not like BYU was a toilet bowl program for 100 years or something, but they had they had slipped into irrelevancy, really. I mean, not too many people were thinking or talking about BYU anymore, and Bronco Mendenhall did sort of, bring them back up to the point where, I mean, let's face it, I don't necessarily agree with this, but BYU is considered a Power 5 team, just like Notre Dame is. I don't agree with that. I don't think that should be true or should be the case, but it is. If you look at conference scheduling rules like the Pac-12, 4 of the 5 conferences consider BYU a Power 5 team. The SEC is the only one, the Pac-12 is the only one that doesn't. All 4 of the other Power 5, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 10, and the Big 12, all consider BYU a Power 5 school for scheduling purposes. So, you have all these rules that say, okay, you've got to play your conference games, and then you have to play at least 1 Power 5 team, or some conferences say at least 2 Power 5 teams. Those 4 conferences consider BYU as meeting that criteria. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but that just goes to show the job Bronco Mendenhall did there to elevate that program to where people would even consider them close to being a Power 5 team.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's it for the day.
Well, before you go, I'm trying to get and I know it changes, and this is only May, but every time I talk to a Florida fan, I'm trying to get sort of a running total going here. Who starts quarterback week 1 and who starts week 5? Or is it the same person?
Trask, I want to believe in him so much. I remember him playing at Manville. He was behind the quarterback his entire career. He did decent in garbage time, but I don't think he's ready for a college stage still. Franks, hell no. Then you got Emory Jones, who I think should start week 1. He needs to start week 1. I don't care what anybody says. Dan Mullen needs to put him in a way. He's been working hard this entire season, this all season. I've seen videos of him just working out constantly. And I've seen Franks on a scooter and stuff, being a moron. And
right.
I think Jones deserves it.
Florida fans probably feel a lot like I felt when we got Jacob Eason. Yeah, I know Eason turned out not to be that great, and he's gone now, but you never know those things at the time. But we had terrible quarterback play for 3-4 years in a row after Aaron Murray left. And then we brought Eason in, and it just happened to coincide with the hiring of Kirby Smart. So it was Kirby's first year, and we had a true freshman quarterback. And normally I've been against playing true freshman quarterback, but I say, you know what? We've had such bad quarterback play. It's Kirby Smart's first year. It's almost like a do-over year. Like if you do great with a first-year head coach, great. But if you don't do so great, no one really gets that mad because they say, well, it was his first year. So you almost get like a freebie there. And so I was like, I just think Kirby should play Eason. And that's eventually what he ended up deciding too. And so I'm wondering if a lot of Florida fans are going to start feeling that way too, and just go, you know what, our quarterbacks have been terrible. We've seen Felipe Franks, we weren't impressed. Why not just play the freshman? We know he's going to make mistakes. We know he's going to mess up. We know he's not going to be perfect. But why not let him get all those bumps in the road out of the way this year, sort of a do-over type year for Florida with Dan Mullen and installing a new system. And then next year, Emory Jones has an entire year of playing time under his belt. The whole team will be in Dan Mullen's second year under Dan Mullen's system. I don't know. That just seems like a thought process that makes sense to me. So I sort of agree with you about Emory Jones playing.
Yeah, definitely with Franks. Gosh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, as a Georgia fan, I want Franks to start. You know, I hope Franks plays as a Georgia fan. But if I'm a Florida fan, I'm rolling the dice on Emory Jones and just taking my lumps this year.
Yeah, definitely that. I mean, also Florida got a commitment from a quarterback that run the 4.45 in the 40-yard dash.
Wow.
And that's for Dan Mullen. His name is Jalen Jones. He recently got upgraded from a 3-star to a 4-star, and he's ESPN top 300 right now.
That's for 2019.
Even if Emory Jones doesn't pan out, you still got the backup, like the guy coming in.
That's a 2019 guy, or that's somebody that's joining the team now?
2019 guy.
Okay.
Next year.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I haven't really started paying much attention to. There's some people who really follow recruiting a really, really close year round, and that's where I get most of my info from. Because I don't have the patience or the temperament to follow recruiting that closely year round, because I get so mad every time these people commit and decommit and all that. I'd probably give myself a heart attack and a stroke both at the same time if I tried to follow recruiting year round. So. But anyway, hey, John, I appreciate the call. Thanks for calling in, talking some ACC with us. And good luck to your Florida Gators this year, except for the last Saturday in October. And have a great morning also. And two, if you can. And you probably can.
He's a Florida man, Lou!
706-510-6817 if you want to be on the show. Now would be an amazing time to do it. Tater fan coming on the show on Wednesday, Pigskin Pete. He has a YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen it, you check him out so you know what you're in for on Wednesday. But his YouTube name is Pigskin Pete. He's easy to find. If you just type in a YouTube search for Pigskin Pete, you'll find it, or Pigskin Pete Clemson. I promise you'll find it without a problem, and he will be on the show on Wednesday. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. You're on with Uncle Lou. You there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning. Name and height, please.
John, and my height is 5'8".
All right. Well, we can work on that later. But thanks for the call, John. And what can we do for you today?
I don't know if you get asked this question a lot, but I have a what-if scenario for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
How altered do you believe the college football world would be if Cam Newton had never gotten kicked off of Florida and ended up being the successor to Tim Tebow of Florida?
Florida would have at least one more national title, maybe two. Because, of course, Newton played 2 years of college after he left Florida, but one was at a junior college, because he didn't want to sit out a year. He went undefeated at that junior college, then transferred to Auburn and went undefeated at Auburn. So Cam Newton won a national title 2 years in a row after he left Florida, a JUCO title, and then the title at Auburn. Auburn's team, I mean, they were good, but not great. Cam Newton was one of those players, a generational type college talent that could have won a national title for about 10 or 15 different teams. There were probably 15 to 20 teams in America during those years that were good enough to win a national title if they would have had Cam Newton as quarterback. And Florida had a really, really good defense back in the Tim Tebow. A lot of people forget that. Tim Tebow gets so much praise and credit, deservedly so. He's one of the best college players of all time. But Florida had an elite defense back in those days, too. Maybe not quite as good as they had under the Muschamp era in the first year of the McElwain era with Muschamp players, but still they had a really, really good defense back then. So I could see a scenario where Florida wins another national title, maybe two. It's very hard to win back-to-back national titles no matter what players you have. See Alabama as proof of that, but it's possible Florida could have won another one with Cam Newton.
How often do you think Ohio State and Auburn would have been?
What year? Oh, had they got Cam Newton?
Yeah, because if Florida still had Cam Newton, do you think Urban Meyer would have ever left? With
Urban, yes. Urban Meyer didn't leave Florida because of anything to do with talent. There was some extracurricular activity going on that Urban Meyer's. Let me be careful what I say here, but because all of this is rumor and people are gonna, you can't prove that, Lou, and no, you can't prove it. But the rumor is that Urban Meyer's better half told Urban Meyer, "We're leaving Florida," and she had some reasons why she told him that was happening. That's the rumor. So the whole heart condition thing was a cover for that. I've never known anybody whose heart condition was so bad they had to quit football out of the blue just so they could turn around and coach again a year later. I don't know. I don't buy any of that.
Okay. All right, that's all I wanted. Thank you for having me.
All right, yeah, I appreciate the call. Thank you. Yeah, those what-if scenarios are always fun to play, and you can play them a million different ways. What if this guy went to that school instead of that school? What if this coach would have stayed instead of left? What if, what if? You can play those games all day long, and they're fun to play sometimes. And let's just be real, in the off season, a lot of times there's nothing else better to do. Yeah. But 706-510-6817. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Morning, Uncle Lou. How are you?
I'm doing great. Go ahead and state your name for the record.
Jared?
You said Jared?
Yeah.
Okay. And 1 second here. I'm writing this down. Jared. All right. And your favorite type of cheese?
Probably Swiss.
Swiss? Okay. That's all right. It's got some holes in it. And what's going on today, Jared?
I want to talk about one thing. I know I'm a Vandy fan and all, but I want to talk about Kentucky football because I know this has nothing to do with whether they beat us or not, but Kentucky fans on Facebook are like the South Carolina fans from last year.
Are they loud?
Yes, they're saying that Kentucky is the team to beat this year, not Georgia.
I mean, that's crazy talk. In football?
Yes, I know. Yes, in football.
You're sure they're talking about football?
Yes.
Well, give us some examples here. Give us some examples here.
I can't remember his name, but it was on Facebook. And 100% true SEC fans, the Kentucky fan was talking like, we're the team to beat. We have so much good talent and good coaching staff. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's mind blowing. These Kentucky fans, they have one good player on their entire team. Craigie doesn't get injured, basically.
Which player are you talking about? Snell?
Yeah, Snell.
Yeah. Is Kentucky planning on playing with 11 players on defense this year, or are they going to try that thing they tried against Florida last year where they only played with 10 players?
I'm pretty sure they'll play with 9 players this year.
9? You could be right. They got blown out for 33 years in a row playing 11 players against Florida. Last year, they almost beat Florida by playing 10 players on defense. So they may go all in. They may go all in this year and take like a hockey approach and throw a couple of defensive players in the penalty box and just play 2-man down.
True. You have no pass rush. You've got 9 people covering. There's no such thing as coverage.
No, that was boneheaded for sure. And the fact that it happened twice in the same game, not only that, a home game. So there's no excuse about crowd noise or whatever. It's a home game. So it happened twice in the biggest home game Kentucky has had, maybe ever.
Decade, at least.
Yeah. I mean, they had a legitimate chance to beat Florida. Not just at the end of the game. I mean, before that game, people really said this could be the year. Like, Kentucky could really do it this year. Like, it wasn't a miracle that Kentucky almost beat Florida last year. Florida was bad. Like, that was Kentucky's chance, and they blew it. And they've got nobody to blame but themselves. They can't blame the opposing crowd. They can't blame the refs. They can't blame Obama. They've got nobody to blame but them's own self. So, they can get on Facebook and type that if they want. I mean, all these people in these Facebook, I don't understand. I really only know one Kentucky fan on Facebook who yips all the time, constantly, non-stop. I'm not going to say his name on here because I don't know if he wants me to. Well, his first name is Wesley. You might know who I'm talking about. He does a lot of live videos.
Oh, yeah,
Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't say his last name, but yeah. So I know who you're talking about. And the thing is, I'll give him some credit, but then I'm going to knock him down. He is diehard. Like he'll never give up. Like he talks about Kentucky year round. He's a diehard Kentucky fan. That's the good. The bad, he doesn't know really anything about football. He just doesn't. He does these live videos and they last like 2 or 3 hours, and he literally just makes stuff up. Like I remember last year heading into the Georgia-Kentucky game, he did like an 8-hour live video breakdown of the game the week before the game, and he tried to say that like Kentucky was averaging Kentucky's averaging 23 yards a carry, and opposing teams are averaging 9 turnovers a game. I mean, he just literally just makes all this stuff up. But he is a diehard fan, though. He's just ignorant. So.
It's like me, I'm a diehard Vandy fan, but I at least know some football, and I'm not over enthusiastic. Like,
Yeah.
Vandy's on 15-0.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're not. I mean, Vandy. I mean, Kentucky. Kentucky. I mean, the goal for Kentucky should be to make a bowl game. I mean, that's it. And that's not a knock on Kentucky. I mean, not every single team in the Power 5 can be a football powerhouse. They can't. And for Kentucky, basketball is their thing. So if Kentucky can consistently win 6, 7, 8 games a year over a 5 or 10 year period, that's like a dynasty for them. And I'm not that's not trash talk. I'm not knocking Kentucky. That whether a team's season is good or bad is not determined by the number of games they win. It's determined by the number of games they win compared to realistic expectations. Don't you agree? I mean, if I'll give you an example. If Vandy wins 10 games this year, if Vandy goes, let's say forget 10. If Vanderbilt goes 8-4, is that a good season for your Vanderbilt Commodores?
Yes.
Okay. If Alabama goes 8-4, is that a good season?
No.
That's my point. So you can't just go by total wins. It's based on expectations, right? The expectations at Alabama are a lot higher than 8-4. the expectations at Vanderbilt shouldn't really be 8-4. You know what I mean? So it's based on expectations. So when I say Kentucky should be trying to win a bowl game or 6, 7, 8 games a year, that's not a knock on Kentucky, because the expectation is Kentucky's going to get creamed every week. That's the expectation. Kentucky sucks. That's their reputation. That's the expectation. So if Kentucky or Vanderbilt can win 7, 8 games a year, that's a really good year. And that's not knocking or trash talk. That's legitimate. If Georgia wins 7 or 8 games, it's a terrible year. If Alabama wins 7 or 8 games, terrible year. Clemson, Ohio State wins 7 or 8 games, terrible year, right? If Tennessee goes 7-5, Jeremy Pruitt's the best coach alive. Let's just be real. If Tennessee can, if that dumpster fire that is Tennessee can somehow manage to go 7-5 or 8-4 this year, then they ought to double Jeremy Pruitt's salary, whatever they're paying him, because that would be a modern day miracle. If Tennessee goes 8-4, Jeremy Pruitt should be nominated for sainthood. What do you have to have 3 miracles? If they go 8-4, he will have committed at least 3 miracles, because there's no way on God's green earth they should win more than 6 games this year. So if they win 6, 7, 8, there's your 3 miracles. Jeremy Pruitt should be nominated by Pope, who gives a shit, or whatever his name is. He should be nominated for sainthood, and or knighted, or anyway, something, because it would be a miracle. Expectations, right? Alabama goes 8-4. They're liable to run Nick Saban to the Alzheimer's house. He can shack up with Steve Spurrier.
True.
Anyway, thanks for the call, Jared. And yeah, Kentucky sucks. We agree, and the fans really shouldn't be hooting and hollering about it. What?
Obama was president.
What?
Last time Tennessee won a football game won an SEC game was when Obama was president.
That's right. You're correct. I think he said he was talking into an old shoe again, but I think that was Jared, the Vandy fan, and sometimes he calls in, he uses an old shoe instead of a phone. It's hard to hear him. But I think what he said is that the last time Tennessee won an SEC game, Barack Obama was president. Pretty sure that's what he said. Yeah. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, what's up, Uncle Lou? It's Clemson Tiger. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, Tiger. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. I enjoyed your Trevor Lawrence, Kelly Bryant breakdown that you posted a couple hours ago.
Well, you're the man on that, not me. How right am I, or how wrong am I?
Well, honestly, before I start into the whole KB versus CL debate, I just want to throw something out there, because you started talking with Vandy fan there, and I caught the tail end of that. I thought that was hilarious. So, talking about streaks and Kentucky having a good year, right? So, right. Kentucky goes 8-4. That's tremendous for them. Kentucky also has a milestone coming up this year. They're looking to 5-bomb the Gamecocks, going for 5 in a row over South Carolina.
Isn't that wild? Now, me and you both share a hatred for South Carolina, but this really reminds me of the '90s and early 2000s. The way they're just getting dominated by. I mean, they're bad a lot, but they haven't been. They haven't lost 5 in a row to. I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but it has to be probably the '90s the last time they lost 5 in a row to Kentucky. Maybe even the '80s. I don't know. I mean, this is getting embarrassing, ain't it? What are they doing up there in Cooterville?
Well, they're talking about Will Muschamp like he's a saint, because he took him to 9 wins, and he beat a hapless Michigan team that had Joe Dirt for their quarterback last year. Let's be honest.
No, I agree, yeah.
And, Jake Bentley is going to win the Heisman and all that good stuff. Yeah. They gave him a raise. The other thing that they're talking about is, luring Josh Belt, 5-star defensive tackle. He transferred from Clemson, spent maybe 4 months with the program. He was a prize recruit out of Louisville High School, small 1A high school here in South Carolina. They had lured him away. So they're talking like, Clemson's on the downturn. We've got a 5-star defensive tackle. We're gonna, our defense is gonna be unreal this year. Gonna complement our offense. We got what's that guy's name, Samuels or whatever his name is. I can't even remember the dude's name. number one, the wide receiver, broke his leg last year.
Deebo Samuel.
Anyway, they got him coming. Deebo Samuel, that's
Yeah.
it. That's him. Yeah, so that's the talk in Cooterville. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there with the whole, because they were all excited when Steve Spurrier won 5 in a row over Clemson, something they have never done in 100+ years of college football. So great on them. We're going for 5 in a row, but hey, Kentucky might beat us to it because they play Kentucky before they play the Tigers at the end of the year. So, and I think that game might be up in Lexington this year.
It is because they played in Columbia last year. That was the game that Deebo broke his leg in.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. I always hate when a player goes down.
Now he's a good player. Now I love to trash South Carolina as much as anybody else, but Deebo Samuel is one of the best receivers in college football. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would think, if he has another breakout year, you may see him be. I don't think he'll be in the top 10. He may be a late first round or early second round pick, but I definitely think he's going to be up there because he is their playmaker. Problem with that is, you build your team around one breakout wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then what do you have? You don't really have any other options left. But anyway.
And hold on real quick. Let me. I want to say one more thing about Deebo real quick, and then we'll get to whatever you want to talk about. But I wonder if they're going to do what they did last year. I'm not blaming the coaches for his injury at all. I mean, these are 18 and 19-year-old kids. I mean, when I was in high school, we used to play both ways, offense, defense. We never got off the field. But Deebo Samuel was on the field every offensive play. He returned kicks. He returned punts. I mean, he single-handedly got them to a 2-0 start or whatever it was with kickoff returns for touchdowns, or they would have lost those games. I wonder this year if we see him. I wonder if they'll put him. I mean, he's a dangerous weapon as a kick returner, no doubt about it. I wonder if they don't pull him back from that this year. Kickoffs are the most dangerous play in all of football. Period. I wonder if they don't pull him off of those kickoff returns this year, which I'll just be real, that's good news for other teams. He's an elite kick returner. You still got to deal with him on the outside catching the ball as a wide receiver, but I wonder if they're going to play. I'll have to ask one of these coots on Facebook if what the deal is with that. But anyway, go ahead with whatever you want to talk about today, sir. Enough bashing the coots. We've got all summer for that.
Could do that all day long.
Me too, man. Me too.
But yeah, like I said before, I called in a couple of months ago. I hadn't talked to you since. Just kind of been floating around, watching your videos on Big 12 and everything. So, given the situation and what just transpired today with Hunter Johnson transferring, I think the guy finally just kind of saw the writing on the wall, like, hey, I know I'm talented. I know and you know what? You're right. He could start for 95% of any other program in the country. That kid, I've seen him play. I saw him play in Columbia last year when we played down in Cooterville. When he played some mop-up duty after, I think we went up 34-0 or whatever it was. It was ridiculous. He's very efficient. He's not going to wow you with his feet. He's quick on his feet. He can scramble. Honestly, you know who he kind of reminds me of? He's not very tall, and it's a little bit of a stretch here, because obviously this guy I'm about to mention has won a Super Bowl. Drew Brees, just a little bit like Drew Brees, and this is why I say this, because he's not very tall, but he's very accurate, and he can make some plays with his feet. And the funny thing is he's from Indiana. And the two schools that are mentioned, early schools that are mentioned where he's going to be transferring or may be transferring, the two likely schools are Northwestern and Purdue. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think about that?
Well, it's not uncommon for people in his situation to transfer back to where they're from, especially if they went far away, Indiana to Clemson. Jacob Eason to Georgia. Now Jacob Eason back to Washington now, which is where he was from. So not surprising to me that he would transfer back to the Midwest. A little bit surprising to me that it would be those two schools. You would think a 5-star quarterback who hasn't played that much. So in other words, it's not like he's played and he looked terrible. So now nobody would want him. I mean, he hasn't really played. So as far as anybody knows, he's still just as good as he was when they were recruiting him out of high school. So I'm a little surprised Northwestern and Purdue would be the two teams leading for his services. Where's Michigan? You know, I mean, they need a quarterback bad. I know they got Shea Patterson coming in, but that's not a permanent solution. You know, where's Ohio State? Where's Penn State? Where's Wisconsin?
You know, like these teams like Clemson and Alabama and Georgia, I mean, they're at least 2 deep. You know, either one of those guys could start. Now, obviously, Jalen Hurts, you know, we've all kind of seen that play out, and Kelly Bryant at Clemson, and I'll just go ahead and spoil it for you. I think Trevor Lawrence should start. I think he should be the guy because, you know, you definitely don't want a talent like Trevor Lawrence leaving. You know, you've got Hunter Johnson who's left, and I think honestly he's the second best option. And it was embarrassing losing to Syracuse last year. You know, no doubt in my mind about it. You know, and I'm one to laugh at myself or laugh at my team. When you posted a video about us losing to a fruit, I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that Syracuse game, who was it that came in for Bryant in that Syracuse game?
It was Derek Cooper.
Well, why?
As well. He was the first. I don't know, because every Clemson fan, you go on, I think Dog Nation is your forum, right? That's the big Georgia forum.
Yep.
Tiger Net's our big forum, so that's where everybody posts and leaks information, and you know all the couch potato experts post all their information on
Yeah,
there.
don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody, but don't tell anybody. This is just between me and you. But Uncle Lou is subscribed to the Tiger Net newsletter, so I get the email every day.
Hey, it was smart. Because that's where we get a lot of our, I guess, insider information from. So the fan base consensus was, and it was obvious, Hunter Johnson he wasn't quite primed and ready to be a starter last year, I don't think. Now, had Kelly Bryant gone down for an extended period of time last year, and I think he was out for a couple of series, forget which game it was, he went down. It was a big scare, and then he wound up coming back in. And then, of course, he did go down in the Syracuse game as well. That was another game he actually went down in. It was clear to everybody that Hunter Johnson was the second best option. But Derek Cooper had some longevity with the program, and there goes back to the whole worry that Clemson fans have with Dabo. And there's no knocking Dabo at all. I mean, he's been a godsend to our program, but that Syracuse game just stands out to us as like a black eye. Because, you know, our worry is he's going to go with the veteran, i.e. Kelly Bryant. He's been in the program, took us to a playoff game last year, but you throw up the statistics, not world-beating statistics. I mean, efficient, yeah, but touchdown to interception ratio, not very good. You know, the teams we played last year, and again, Florida State had a pitiful year last year, and Louisville had no defense whatsoever. That was Lamar Jackson's show, and he didn't have anybody to support him, no offensive line.
How bad are they going to be this year, Louisville? They're going to be terrible, aren't they?
Louisville's going to they're going to be awful.
I mean, you're winning 8-9 games. Yeah,
I'll be surprised if Louisville goes 6-6 this year.
Yeah, I don't know if you were listening in the beginning. Somebody asked about Cam Newton and like how good would other teams have been if they'd have had Cam Newton or whatever, and I was like, oh, they would have been just as good. Like, you know, but now I'm thinking about Louisville, and I'm like, well, damn, they had Lamar Jackson. This guy was a generational do-it-all talent at quarterback, and these jokers was winning 8-9 games a year. So imagine now, man, they might not make a bowl game, and I'm being dead serious. They might go 5-7.
They might. They very well might, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit. So our path to the playoff this year, other than a couple of other than that.
Lou makes me so damn mad.
We'll see what Florida State has this year with the first-year head coach. They seem to be happy with that hire down there. We'll see. Blackman's coming back, and then I guess Francois is, coming back from his injury. So we'll see what happens with them. But other than the game at FSU and the game at A&M with Jimbo Fisher, but again, that's a first-year head coach too. He's got a lot of experience, and he knows Clemson real well because he used to play us every year. But he's taken over a program. It's got some talent on both sides of the ball, but you really don't know. Texas A&M's kind of a wild card in the SEC West this year. It's like your typical Alabama. It's like a gump, It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, right? You just don't know what you're going to get with A&M. But every other game, we should be heavily favored in every other game. And then, of course, for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is, and Georgia experiences the same thing. I don't know what it is at Texarkana in Atlanta, but we have to go to Atlanta. I don't know what it is about that ancient, pathetic excuse for a stadium or a program that they have now, but that 1950s style offense and the mystique of Georgia Tech flips up on us from time to time, and then they beat us in a game when they're not even supposed to win, like that when Deshaun Watson was a freshman. We were on a roll. We were having a good year. We go down there, tears his ACL. They won something like 28-6 or something in that game. It wasn't even close, and they weren't even really that good that year.
Yeah.
I don't think. It may have been the year that they actually managed. I might take that back. I think they won the Orange Bowl that year. They beat Dak Prescott, Mississippi State. So, but again, Paul Johnson. I don't understand why that guy gets a contract extension.
I love it. He's beat
would,
Georgia 3 times.
You love it.
Georgia Tech has beat Georgia 3 times this century, and they love Paul Johnson.
I don't understand, because if you think about it, what 18 and 19-year-old kid, and let's be honest, the majority of them are African American, wouldn't want to play football in Atlanta, Georgia? You know what I'm saying?
And I agree.
Who wouldn't want to go play football in Atlanta, Georgia? And then you got the Falcons right there scouting you. Love to have that attention. You got the Atlanta market. Everything there is to do in Atlanta. You have the College Football Hall of Fame there now. There's so much to offer you. You're going to get a pretty good education. They're going to, help. You can run right in and manage a Pep Boys when you graduate.
Hey, you know what the best part about it is as a Georgia fan, and I'm going to use Clemson and South Carolina as an example. Clemson, clearly a better program right now than South Carolina. But if South Carolina beats you in any given year, they use that in recruiting, and it matters. It definitely matters. We can lose to Georgia Tech once every 4 or 5 years, and they can't even use it against us in recruiting because they're not even recruiting the same type of player. There is no one on Georgia's roster that would even fit in at Georgia Tech, and vice versa. So even on the odd year that Tech beats Georgia, they don't even get to wave that over our heads on in-state recruiting. We're never fighting over the same recruits.
Because nobody wants to play in that style
Yep.
of offense.
You can't even hardly find a high school anymore that runs that. They run the spread offenses now.
Yeah, the fun and gun.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of the high schools are doing now.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence,
that's
shotgun
all
and 5 wide
good.
receivers on 90% of his snaps in high school.
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw that one post, that one article. The state newspaper in Columbia got all hot about it. South Carolina recruiters got kicked out of some high school in Georgia, and their head coach told them not never to come back again. Did you see that? I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Something. You just look it up. Do a Google search when you get done with the program.
Yeah.
If you want some hilarity.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
There might be a
Trevor
video
Lawrence,
there somewhere.
Trevor Lawrence is a once-in-a-lifetime talent.
Yeah.
And you could have heard me say that the same thing, and you posted about it before. Deshaun Watson was a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback. But then again, now you got Trevor Lawrence, and you got people on NFL Network or whatever talking about this kid, talking about they've never seen a high school player like this in their lifetime.
I couldn't agree more.
How well he transfers. I mean, and I watched the spring game. A lot of people don't take a lot out of spring games because they think, unless you're a Tennessee fan and it's just a skill challenge, and then you get all hyped up. And I don't think people take a lot of stock in spring games, but let's be honest. I mean, that's the culminating event of spring training. That's the culminating event.
Yeah.
You're setting the conditions and you're setting the tone for the fall, for August and for fall camp and all that. You are setting those conditions. You're trying to perform in a way that's going to impress your coaches, so that you get some more attention, and maybe move up the depth chart, and that it's a huge thing, regardless of what college football program you're at. So, looking at that game, Kelly Bryant did not look impressive. He was like something like 5 or 7 for 15. Had some bad overthrows, and Trevor Lawrence, man, he's lighting it up. He threw one touchdown pass. It was a perfect drop. It was a beautiful 50-yard bomb, and then he can make any throw, any throw. It's unreal.
I know.
So,
I know.
I think Dabo will be making a huge mistake by not. If he doesn't start the kid in the Furman game, the warm-up game before A&M, he needs to get some significant playing time in that game. But I think the kid's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he's very mature for his age. He's had good coaches at Cartersville High School who kind of coached him up in all the right ways. So I think he's going to be all right as far as handling the pressure and all that stuff. And, the kids nowadays, these quarterbacks that come out of high school, with some exceptions, you got some showboats like Jameis Winston, Lamar Jackson. They're kind of flashy kids. But for the most part, a lot of these kids that come out of high school, Jake Fromm's a good example, very mature for their age. So they've groomed them very well. So I don't see the maturity and being able to handling the moment being a thing that's going to be difficult for Trevor. It's just going to be getting used to the speed of the college game, and he's going to grasp the playbook. He's already got a mastery of that. So I think he's going to be all right. What do you think?
I mean, I would start him as soon as he was ready. I could see a scenario where Bryant starts week 1 and Trevor Lawrence comes in at some point in the game, and if it's obvious to everybody that he's just a better quarterback, then that could be the end of Kelly Bryant. Let me, 2 quick things before I let you go here. This will just be real quick, I promise. 2 things I saw in the comments section I want to ask you about or tell you about. Number 1, someone has nominated you for the 5-Star Caller of the Month award for the month of May to say you're the best caller we've had this month. And number 2, there's a Mark Rickbot Hurricane fan in the comments section. Dennis Wilson is his name, and he's been typing here about all the things Miami's going to do to Clemson this year. Your response, sir.
Go ahead. What was the last part? Do I have a reply for him?
Yeah, he's typing out all the things that he says Miami. Basically, he's saying Miami beat the crap out of Clemson this year, and I was just wondering if you had any reaction or thoughts on that.
Oh, good, and you'll love this. I got two words for Dennis Wilson: Mark Rick. That's all you need to know, buddy. Mark Rick.
Clem Tiger, thanks for the call. That was great, man. I really appreciate the call. That was good stuff there. Yeah, that was great. Man, I'm glad we got a Clemson fan to call in today, with it being the ACC week, and I hope that Pigskin Pete is able to call in on Wednesday as well. Thanks again to the good people over at Lanier HVAC Services. If you're in the Atlanta or Athens area or in between and you need some work done on your residential HVAC unit, give the good people over at Lanier HVAC Services a call. They're nice enough to support the Uncle Lou Show. Let's return the favor. If we need some work done on our air conditioner, let's go ahead and give them a call. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
How are you doing here? I was trying to call you over and over last week, but I wasn't able to do it. Can I just say one thing about the Big 12 here?
Yeah, of course you can, but I do need your name. Or you can even make one up.
My name is Mark Johnson.
Mark. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mark Johnson. And what is it about the Big 12 today, sir?
Okay. Can I tell you what I think is going to happen with Oklahoma State this year?
Yes, please.
Okay. I think Oklahoma is I think they're losers, okay? Oklahoma is I hate Oklahoma. I can't stand them, okay? They always steal our Big 12 championship. We're supposed to be winning it on a yearly basis, so they always take it from us, okay? Oklahoma State's going to win the national championship against Auburn, like 70-0, okay?
All right.
And they're going to beat Georgia in the playoffs, okay? That's what's going to happen, okay?
So you think Georgia's making the playoffs this year?
Yeah. They're going to destroy Oklahoma.
Okay.
The running back, the best running back in the country, faster than Usain Bolt. Yeah, he can go faster than that dude. Like, he's going to just destroy everybody, man. And, and Vandy's just going to destroy Georgia because Georgia sucks, first of all.
Well, 30 seconds ago, you said Georgia was going to make the playoffs, and now they're going to lose to Vandy, and they suck, though?
Oh. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, trolling 101, man. Trolling 101. You can't contradict yourself when trolling, or it gives away the troll.
No. It's SEC bias. Okay?
Stop trolling me!
Okay, they're gonna have that loss, and they suck. Okay, they're gonna have that one loss, and they suck because they lost to Vanderbilt. But they're gonna have SEC bias in the playoff committee, like always, and they're gonna go to the playoff, and they're gonna get obliterated by my Cowboys, 70-3. Okay, and then they're gonna beat Auburn in the national championship, which is going to beat Georgia they're gonna beat Georgia. Okay.
I'm writing all this down. Yep.
Yeah.
Georgia.
That's what's gonna happen.
Georgia makes playoffs, but loses to Vandy and Auburn.
Georgia may win this year, but
still makes playoffs because bias.
You guys have no chance.
State beat Auburn 70-0.
Okay, Vanderbilt. Excuse me.
You also
Vanderbilt's
beat
gonna win.
Georgia 70.
Vanderbilt's gonna win 91-0.
Best running back in America. And who is Oklahoma State's quarterback this year again?
What'd you say?
I said who?
I don't know, but whoever it is, he's Superman because it's Oklahoma State, bro.
You said whoever it is?
Whoever it is, he's so good because it's Oklahoma State. Best football.
Have a great day.
In the world.
Guy can't name his starting quarterback. But Big 12 fans know football, though. Big 12 fans know football, though. This guy don't know his starting quarterback. I bet you, I should have asked him, I bet you he doesn't even know who the quarterback was last year. And the guy got drafted. What is this now? Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Uncle Lou, it's the ultimate troll. What's up?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Anybody there? You're on with Uncle Lou.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Lou.
Hello?
Lou, can you hear me? Stop trolling me. Lou.
Now's your chance. Let's go. Anybody there?
Stop trolling. Hello, can you hear me?
Anybody there?
Lou.
Stop trolling me.
Come on, you're the last caller of the day. Don't do this to me. Just you figured out how to dial the number. You can figure out how to say something. Come on.
Lou, I'm talking.
Hello.
Lou, okay, stop trolling me. Okay, just I have important points to make today. Lou.
Hello.
Lou.
5-star caller.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I hear you now. Yeah. I hear you now.
It's the ultimate troll. That was an awful troll attempt, Lou.
You there?
That was evil. I'm here. Stop.
5-star caller.
All right, ultimate troll. What's up?
Lou.
Yep.
That was mean. Okay. Now, I'm about to cry, Lou. That was very mean. Okay, I'm gonna pull myself together.
All right,
okay.
Good.
Lou, first thing I want to talk about today is these stupid idiots in the comment section that keep saying Mississippi State is gonna go 10-2, 11-1, 12-0.
What? Wait, whoa. Stop the gravy train here. Too much cowbell. There's Mississippi State fans in the comment section?
No, I don't know. I wonder if it's just people trying to troll me because they say Auburn's losing to Mississippi State. But there's people saying Mississippi State's going 10-2, 11-1, 12-0. I see it all the time in the comment section.
Auburn's losing to Mississippi State. And it's possible. Now, Auburn is losing to Arkansas. But you know, that
Auburn. We're not talking about Auburn right now. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
First, I want to talk about Mississippi State. Well, I do think Mississippi State will be good this year, despite their coach. I think next year is the year that they're going to drop off. They have so much talent, though, this year that they're going to probably win 8-9 games. But they have to go to Alabama. They have Auburn, which we should beat them. They have LSU. They have all sorts of teams that I just think they will get beat pretty bad by, and they need to chill out for a second and think. In 2014, you had Dak Prescott and couldn't win more than what they win 9-10 games. What makes you think you're going to win it this year? That's my opinion of that.
True or false, though? True or false? Mississippi State has been ranked #1 in the nation more recently than the Barn. True or false?
That's true.
Okay.
True or false?
Thank you.
True or false? Auburn has been ranked in the playoffs more than Mississippi State.
False. That's it's a tie. Neither one of you have ever been in the playoffs.
We've been in the playoff rankings in the top 4 a lot more than they have.
Oh, you never been in the playoffs, but so yeah.
Well, you haven't won a natty since 1980, but that's for another day. But that's my point there. So, and then the next thing I want to talk about, the UCF thing. Everybody's making fun of Auburn because we lost to the one-handed man, whatever. First, he got drafted, so I mean that's not that big of an insult. The guy did like 50 bench press reps. He's a very good player.
Man,
so
stop,
really
stop, man, stop.
What?
Did you just say a one-armed man did bench presses? Stop
yes,
it, man.
He did bench presses.
Stop.
You don't believe me? Look it up.
Stop.
No,
stop.
Some weird
Stop.
thing.
Go on with your story.
Yeah.
Go on with your story, but leave out the part about the one-handed man doing bench presses. Go ahead with your story.
Okay, he did, but anyway, but it's not really an insult to say that Auburn, you lost to a guy who got drafted. You know how hard it is to get drafted? So, you lost to the one-handed man. That's like saying, you just lost to Nature Patrick. I mean, it's so stupid. That's a dumb argument. Hello?
Yeah, still here.
You're funny.
I'm waiting on
and then
something interesting to happen.
Something okay. And then another thing is, what do you mean something interesting to happen? What do you want from me?
This is exactly what I want.
What is this? What do you want from me? I'm talking.
Yeah, this is great. Let's go. Let's arguing. Let's go.
Okay. So then I'm lost for okay, now I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so now people say, "Oh, Auburn's going 84, Auburn's going 75 this year." That's impossible. Auburn has way too much talent. I don't care who our coach is. We have way too much talent to be going 8-5 this year. We're going to have one of, if not the best, one of the best defensive lines in the country. We're going to have an experienced quarterback. We're going to find a running back. but I would take 10 wins, but we're not going 8-5 or 7-5, whatever.
9-4.
We have too much talent for that to happen.
You'll finish the regular season 9-3, and then you'll go ahead and lose your bowl game. You'll be 9-4.
So who are our 3 losses?
Georgia, Alabama, and some team that you're not supposed to lose to.
We don't lose to teams we're not supposed to. That's only in bowl games.
You were supposed to lose to Troy after they lost. I mean, you were supposed to lose to LSU after they lost to Troy, and you had a 21-point lead on them?
We weren't supposed to win that game. We haven't won in Death Valley since like 1970.
You were supposed to lose to UCF?
No, I did you not hear me? I said, except forget the bowl game.
You were supposed to lose to Georgia?
Yes, we were supposed to lose to Georgia. We're supposed to lose to Georgia and Alabama. That's the teams we're supposed to lose to every year.
What about Clemson?
But sometimes we don't. And this year, we're going to have just about as much talent
Clemson,
on the field.
No, but I said, what about Clemson, though?
Clemson, I didn't really think we would win that game.
Okay.
We were playing at Clemson. I mean, I don't think Georgia would win that game.
So let's sort of play this out here. You don't lose to teams you're not supposed to lose to unless it's a bowl game. Okay. Are you supposed to lose to Washington?
Okay. No, we're not supposed to lose to Washington. But if we do lose to Washington, I'm not going to be surprised.
If you do lose, that just means you were supposed to.
No. Okay, sure. Whatever. Fine.
Yeah. Are you supposed to lose every time you play on the road?
We don't lose that many road games. We beat Texas A&M on the road. Who else did we beat on the road? We beat a few other teams on the road this year. The only teams we lost 4 games on the road.
Yeah, every game you lost was on the road. Boss man, you didn't play but what, 5 road games? You lost 4 of them? So.
Well, the 4 of them that we played were not easy road games.
Oh.
Really, okay, let me ask you what you think would happen here. If Georgia had to play Alabama every year, how do you think Georgia would do?
Let me ask you something. If you want to win the SEC or a playoff game or a national title, do you have to beat hard teams?
No, you don't. How do you think Washington got in?
By beating Southern Cal.
Okay, you have to have a Power 5 schedule. I think Kansas went undefeated, they would be in the playoffs.
If Kansas went undefeated, if Kansas went undefeated, they would have wins over Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, Kansas State, West Virginia, TCU. None of those are hard.
Okay. Lou.
I mean, the excuse that, Lou, Auburn lost 4 games, but they were hard, Lou. Breaking news, son. You have to win hard games to win anything meaningful. That November championship that you went down to the pawn shop and bought after you beat Alabama in a meaningless regular season game last year, ain't worth the Play-Doh it's built out of, son. That November championship trophy you gave yourself is not worth the Play-Doh it's made out of, buddy. You have got to beat hard teams if you want to win anything meaningful. If Georgia wants to win a national title, they're going to have to beat an elite team in the national title game. Period. If you want to win the SEC, son, and you better clean the shit out of your ears when you listen to this here now. If you want to win the SEC, that road goes through Athens, Georgia, buddy. So if you want to win the SEC, you can bet your ass right now you're going to have to win a hard game. You hear me?
It goes through Athens, Georgia. Yet the first time you've won in like a decade is last year. So is that how it goes through Athens?
Do you understand me?
Well, that's
not even the question.
You got to win hard games, man. This whole thing about our schedule is hard. We got to play Georgia and Alabama on the road. Look here, man. You got to win hard games sometimes, buddy.
If you had Alabama on your schedule every year, how many games do you think you would have won in the last decade?
Auburn fans are like these recreation departments that don't keep score in games anymore. Well, we're not keeping score anymore because if we keep score, then that means somebody lost. And we can't have that. It's not fair. It's too hard.
Answer the question.
What?
Lou, I'm beating you in an argument. Answer the question.
What question, man? You ain't asked no damn questions. You've made a series of erroneous comments.
Well, if you'll stop talking, I will be able to ask you. Okay? Can you stop talking for 5 seconds? Okay. The question I wanted to ask you was, if Alabama was on Georgia's schedule every year for the last decade, how many games do you think
that ain't neither here nor there, man. Listen. Were you crying like a bitch from 1993? Were you crying like a bitch from 1993 to 2007 when Georgia had to play Florida and Tennessee every damn year, which was dominating the SEC, while Alabama was in the shitter? And you got to play Alabama every year while they were in the shitter for 15 years? Did you hear a Georgia fan crying about that? This dumb shit here crying about Tennessee does the same damn thing too. These dumbass Voltards and Barners. Life's not fair. We gotta play Alabama, woo. Breaking news. Even 90 Proof Woofer can tell you. You gotta beat Bama if you want to win something. It doesn't matter whether you play them in the regular season, the SEC championship game, the playoff, or the natty. You gotta beat the best of the damn best if you want to win anything. This bullshit crybaby routine, this millennial snowflake participation trophy, let's not keep score at the rec department bullshit that Auburn and Tennessee fans are crying about. We gotta play Alabama every year, and it's not fair, woo. It's not fair. You didn't hear people crying when they had to play Peyton Manning and Tim Tebow and Chris Leak and whatever else of those shitty quarterbacks Florida had that was throwing for 5,000 yards under Steve Spurrier, and we had to play them every damn year. You didn't hear Georgia fans crying, bitching, and moaning, oh, this isn't fair. We got to play Florida. Meanwhile, Auburn gets to play shit-ass Alabama every year. They're on probation every 3 years. They can't keep a coach. There ain't no damn Gump fans. They're all watching NASCAR. Alabama's winning 4 wins a season. Now all of a sudden, Alabama's good, and Auburn and Tennessee fans can't get out of the damn gutter. Their lip is literally dragging the damn floor. They're pouting. They're like this. Their lip is sweeping the damn floor. They walk down the hall and mop the damn thing with their bottom lip. We have to play Alabama, woo. Nobody gives 2 hoots or a country friggin' holler that you got to play Alabama every damn year, son. Tighten up and win a tough game. And I have a great morning also in 2. Good morning. Huh?